It was Tuesday, and the coffee shop was quieter than usual. That's where I always saw her every Tuesday and Thursday after her shift at the clinic. Clara. She'd come in looking a little tired, her blonde held back, and she'd always order the same thing: a large black tea with 1 sugar. I'd be in my usual corner, pretending to work on my laptop, but really just waiting for the moment the door would chime. We weren't strangers. We'd been in this pattern for months, ever since we randomly sat at adjacent tables during a rainstorm and got talking. It was easy then. Now it's the highlight of my week, but it's also this tight knot in my chest. We'd chat for 20, sometimes 30 minutes. She'd tell me about her difficult patients, or the absurd, at the hospital. I'd tell her about my freelance design projects, the boring ones and the occasionally interesting ones. It was friendly, normal. But somewhere along the line, for me, it stopped being just that. The hard part is the silence between the words. It's in the way I'll say something and she'll laugh, really laugh, and I'll feel this stupid surge of pride. It's in the way she sometimes looks at me when she's talking, like she's really listening. I find myself memorizing irrelevant details. The tiny freckle just below her right eye, the way she stirs her tea in slow, precise circles. This particular Tuesday she sat down with a deeper sigh than normal. "Long day?" I asked, stating the obvious. She said, pulling the clip from her hair. It fell around her shoulders, and I had to look back at my screen for a second. "Just one of those days where you feel like you're not helping anyone." "I'm sure that's not true," I said, and I meant it. She had this calmness about her. I couldn't imagine her not helping. She smiled, a small, grateful thing. "Thanks. It's just nice to decompress here. With," she paused, sipped her tea. "With a normal conversation." A normal conversation, the words hung there. That's all this was to her. And why wouldn't it be? I hadn't given her any reason to think otherwise. My mind had its usual frantic loop. Tell her. Just say it's the best part of my week, seeing you. No, that's too heavy. I really enjoy our talks. Safer. Do it now. But my throat felt dry. The moment felt too still, too fragile to shatter with my confession. What if it changed things? What if she got that polite, careful look and started making excuses not to come? The risk of losing this. The casual tease, the shared smiles felt so much more real and immediate than the distant, vague hope of something more. So I just nodded, "Yeah. Me too." The conversation moved on. We talked to a restaurant that had opened at a neutral, safe topic. But the whole time my heart pounding in a dull rhythm against my ribs. As she gathered her things to leave, she hesitated. "Oh, some of us from the clinic are going to that new trivia night at the Crown on Thursday. If you're not busy, it might be fun." This was it. An opening. Invitation. My brain short self there, on the outside of her work circle, trying to make casual jokes with people I didn't know while she was in her element. The fear was instant and paralyzing. She's just being nice, I thought. "It's a pity invite, Thursday," I said, my voice strangely casual. "I might have a project deadline, but I'll let shed." Her smile not fading, but maybe becoming just a fraction more polite. "No pressure." She left. I immediately opened into text window. Actually, my deadline moved. "I'd love to go." I stared at it. I added a smiley face, then deleted it. My thumb hovered over the send button for a full minute. Then I locked my phone and put it face down on the table. The confession wasn't in the words I could say. It was in the message I didn't send, sitting there in the draft chamber of my phone, a silent testament to my own cowardice. I just sat there, watching her teacup, now empty, still sitting on the table where she'd left it. The unsent text haunted me for 2 days. By Thursday afternoon, I'd convinced myself showing up to trivia unannounced would be weird, so I didn't go. I spent the evening refreshing my phone, half hoping she'd message, half terrified she would. The following Tuesday, I got to the coffee shop early, my stomach in knots. What if I'd offended her? What if she'd met someone at trivia? She arrived right on time looking cheerful. "Hey," she said, sliding into the chair opposite me. "You missed a truly embarrassing display of our collective ignorance last week. We didn't know the capital of Australia, Canberra," I said automatically, a wave of relief making me lightheaded. She was acting normal. "See? We needed you." She said it lightly, laughing, but the words "we needed you" in my head long after she'd moved on to talking about a TV show. That became the new pattern. A step forward comment could be interpreted as slightly more friendly, followed immediately by my 2 steps back. I'd overanalyze her words for days, crafting perfect, witty responses in my head that never left my mouth in time. We started walking together after our teas, since her bus stop was in the same direction as my apartment. Those 10-minute walks were agony and bliss. Our arms would sometimes brush, and I'd feel a jolt like static electricity. The conversation would flow, and I'd think, "No, say something now." But then we'd reach the corner, and she'd say, "See you Thursday," with a wave, and the moment was gone. One rainy Thursday, she didn't have an umbrella. I offered to walk her to the bus under mine. It was a small space. I could smell her shampoo, something like vanilla. We were talking about nothing, about the miserable weather, but I wasn't hearing a word. My whole universe had shrunk to the few inches of damp air between our shoulders. My hand holding the umbrella was numb from keeping it steady over her. "You're getting soaked," she said, noticing my left side was exposed. Said, and it was. At the bus stop, she turned to me. The streetlight made her eyes look softer. She was searching my face for something. The world went quiet, just the sound of rain on the umbrella fabric. My heart was hammering. This was it, the perfect movie-like moment. Her lips parted slightly as if she, too, was about to speak. The air was thick with all the unspoken words between us. I opened my mouth, the confession right there, a tangible pressure behind my teeth. Then her bus rumbled around the corner, its headlights cutting through the drizzle. She blinked. The moment shattered. "That's me," she said, her voice slightly hushed. She touched my arm briefly. "Thanks for the rescue. See you Tuesday." She jogged. The bus peered inside. I stood there under the umbrella, the ghost of her touch on my sleeve, the words I hadn't said dissolving in the rain. I walked home alone, every step feeling heavy with the weight of another missed chance, another silence I'd chosen over the terrifying possibility of speaking. Yes, absolutely. The birthday party can be replaced with any other common group social event that creates a similar pressure and sense of outsiderness for the narrator. The key beats are a semi-public setting, the narrator feeling out of place, a moment of genuine connection or gift-giving that feels too intimate for the setting, a near confession interrupted by the social context, and a retreat into silence. Here is a revised version of Part 3. Without a birthday, the work party was the tipping point. Clara's clinic was celebrating a successful fundraiser, and she'd invited me almost offhandedly. "It'll be boring, but the food is good," she'd said. It was held in a bland hotel conference room, full of people I didn't know, her colleagues, administrators, donors. I stood near the wall, clutching a drink, feeling like a piece of misplaced furniture. I'd brought her a small, carefully chosen gift from the coffee shop we always went to, a bag of their special blend Onson said she liked. It felt too personal now, surrounded by this professional crowd. She found me there. "You actually came," she said, her smile surprised and genuine. She was dressed up from her usual scrubs, a simple blue dress. And she looked happy, a little relieved the event was almost over. "I'm glad," said the food was good, I replied, trying to sound casual. The truth, that I'd come just to see her in this different light, stuck in my throat. I handed her the small bag. From the usual place, she opened it right there. Her face softened. "You remembered I like this. That's so thoughtful, Leo." She looked from the coffee to me, and her gaze held for a second too long. "Thank you." A doctor called her name, and she was pulled away to meet someone, the bag held carefully in her hand. I watched her move through the room, professional and graceful, and the distance between my spot by the wall and her world, vast and uncrossable. Later, I found myself in the quieter hallway near the restrooms, just getting a moment. Door from the event space opened, and there she was. The muffled noise of the party became a backdrop. It was just us again. "Hiding?" she asked, leaning against the wall beside me. "A bit. These things aren't really my scene. Mine either, honestly," she confessed with a tired smile. "Obligation. It's nice to get a break." We stood in comfortable silence for a minute. This was the moment. The event. The quiet hallway. It felt like a setup. My mind was screaming. My palms were damp. I cleared my throat. Clara R., the event coordinator, a brisk woman with a headset, popped her head out. "They want the team for a quick photo before people leave." Clara sighed, throwing an apologetic glance my way. "Duty calls. Don't disappear, okay?" She touched my arm briefly and was gone. I stayed in the hallway until I heard the photo session wrapping up. I'd had my chance, another one, and I'd let the world interrupt because it was easier than making my own interruption. I left not long after, texting her a quick heading out. "See you Tuesday?" from the lobby. She replied with a simple "thanks for coming." "See Tuesday." I stared at it, the mundane words feeling both a promise and a verdict, and knew I was running out of time. The spaces between our meetings were no longer filled with quiet hope, but with a growing, urgent panic that I was going to lose her simply by never having the courage to speak. The Tuesday after the work party felt different. A shift had happened. The panic wasn't a quiet hum anymore. It was a constant, ringing alarm in my head. I arrived at the coffee shop early, but she was already there at our usual table. She looked up from her phone and smiled, but it seemed tired, less reaching. "Hey," I said, sitting down. The usual ease was stiff. She stirred her tea. The silence stretched, filled with we hadn't said on that balcony in that hallway. She spoke first. "I've been thinking. I might be transferring to the clinic's new branch. It's farther out. The commute would be a killer." My hopped. It felt like the floor had vanished. This was it. The slow fade was becoming a clean cut. No more Tuesdays. No more Thursdays, all my mist piled up into one solid, immovable wall. "Oh," I managed. "That's a big move. When?" "They want an answer by Friday." She wasn't looking at me, just tracing the rim of her cup. "It's a good opportunity. Better pay, more responsibility." "That's great," I said, the words automatic and hollow. I felt a cold clarity wash over me. The fear of speaking, the risk of ruining what we had, it was about to be rendered obsolete. There would be nothing left to ruin. The greater fear was now the silence itself. I didn't plan it. The words just came out, quiet but clear, cutting through the low shop music. "I don't want you to go." She looked up, surprised. "It's not really, it's a careering." "I know," I said. My mouth was dry. "I know that. It's a great opportunity. But I need to say something first, before you decide." I took breath that felt like my first one all day. These weeks, meeting you here, it's been the best part of my week. For a long time. And I've been too scared to say that, because I didn't want to make it weird, or pressure you, or lose this. But if you leave, I lose it anyway. I like you, Clara. More than just a friend. I've liked you for a while. That was out. It was out. No poetry, no grand speech. Just the blunt, terrifying truth. I braced for the polite letdown, the careful backtracking. She didn't speak for a long moment. She just looked at me, her expression unreadable. Then, slowly, a real smile broke through, one that reached her eyes. Leo, she said, her voice soft. I was hoping you'd say that. I thought maybe you just saw me as a coffee break friend. No, I said, dizzying relief starting to break through the panic. Never just that. The transfer. I was leaning against it. The commute is a killer. She let out a small, shaky laugh. I mostly brought it up to see what you'd say. That's terrible, isn't it? I laughed too, the sound strange to my own ears. It's clever. We just sat there then in the familiar space, but everything was new. The air between us was clear, charged with a different, hopeful kind of tension. The silence wasn't filled with unsaid words anymore. It was just quiet, a place to breathe. She reached across the table and her hand found mine, her fingers lacing with mine. It was the simplest thing. It was everything. The hesitation was over, and in its place was just this, a beginning.